Yes, in the previous lecture, we studied about the block diagram of computer, how computer has been made of, and how the data flows from input devices to the processor and from processor to the output devices. So now in this lecture, we are going to talk about the generations of computer, the history from where computers evolved throughout all these years, and for understanding the generations of computers, we need to understand that it has grown from a point where it used to be in a device that used to have a single instruction set, and then it moved on to a device that can process multiple instructions, and so on. So to understand the generations of computers, we need to know that the first generation, before starting the generations, first we need to understand that before the 1500s in Europe, the calculations were made with the help of abacus. Okay, and it was invented in 500 BC and available in many cultures in China, Japan, Greece, Rome, etc. And then came the Blaise Pascal. He was the French mathematician and philosopher, and in 1642 he invented the mechanical calculators, and those that mechanical calculator was known as the Pascaline. Okay, and after that, in 1671, Gottfried came and he created a machine that was an extended version of Pascaline, the one that Blaise Pascal created, and it could do the multiplication, division, square roots, and it had a little bit higher. It was a higher version of the or the extended version of the Pascaline. Okay, and all of these machines were used for calculations, but none of these machines had the memory or storage, or it never any of these machines, they could only do small basic calculations. Okay, and these are some of the diagrams you can see from the right side, the abacus, how it was developed and where it was invented, and then we have this mechanical calculator that we have on the right side in the middle picture, and then the extended version of the Pascaline was there. So now moving on to the what Charles Babbage, he is known as the father of computing, and he has developed this machine in which it was built. The difference engine was built, and it was built in 1822. And Charles Babbage, he was a English mathematician and philosopher who developed this machine for the same purpose, for making slight basic calculations. And then a machine was designed to automate the computations or tabulation of the polynomial functions, which are known as the good approximation of many of the useful functions. And based on this finite method of finite difference was calculated, then which implements some storage, and it was used, the machine was developed for that had a very slight storage in it. And then then in 1833, Babbage designed the analytical engine, but he died before he could actually build it, and it was built after his death. And this engine was basically, a bit higher version, and it had some implementation of some sort of storage. Then now, after this comes the existence of computers. Before this, these all machines were not basically computers, but the previous or the building blocks of computers. So to start with the generations of computer, we have these five generations: first generation, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And the years in which all these generation existed was in 1946 to 59, first generation was there; 57 to 64, second generation; 65 to 70, third generation; 70 to 90, fourth generation; and fifth generation is still now going on. Okay. Now moving on to the computers, the generations had different types of machines. And suppose we're talking about the generation zero, it had mechanical calculators that we have already talked about. Then came the generation one, which had vacuum tubes computers. And then we have the generation second that has transistor computers, and integrated circuits were introduced in generation three. And then the microprocessors in generation four, and generation five is the one we're still living in. Okay, so this is the table in which you can see the size of the computers in different generations. Like, the technology that was used in first generation was vacuum tubes, and it is the size of the computer that was built using the vacuum tubes was almost of a size of a whole building. Okay, and of course, because this was the first generation and the computer was just started to implement, started to develop. So in the first generation, the systems were too costly, very costly, and it was very difficult to implement them. Okay, and then came the second generation, which transistors were used, and it was almost half the room. These were still huge and big size computers, and it was filled. It was used to have the whole size of a half of the room was in the second generation. Then we have this third generation that had integrated circuits or multiple transistors, and it was smaller as compared to, if you compare it with the previous generations. Third generation was smaller, and it had multiple transistors, as in small, very small size transistors were used, and that is how it was created. And then we have this fourth generation in which microchips were used, and as compared to third generation, it became easier and cheaper to build a fourth generation system, because it had millions of transistors that we used. And it was almost the size of computers it has decreased drastically after the third generation. It was smaller in size in third generation, but in fourth generation it went reduced into very small size. Okay, so in generation first, ENIAC was the machine that was developed in generation first. That ENIAC, full form of ENIAC is electronic numerical integrator and computer, and it was unveiled in 1946. And the first generation all electronic general purpose digital computer was developed. You can see from the picture that the system that were developed in generation one was almost the whole building was of this size. You can see from the pictures here. Okay, so this was generation one. After this came generation, and in this, the use of binary was there. You can see everywhere we have these small transistors, small chips that are used. And in 30s, Claude Shannon, the father of information theory, had proposed that the use of binary arithmetic and Boolean logic should be used in the electronic circuits. Okay, and that is how it was developed. It has a CPU, memory, and input output systems. And then came the generation second was developed by IBM. IBM 7094 was the name of the device that was developed, and you can see from the pictures that it was almost a half of the room size, and it was still complicated and difficult to build. It was a bit complex when it comes to implementation and making of these systems, because it was the size of the systems were very, very much. Then came the generation third. Generation third had the integrated circuits. Integrated circuits has those simple chips in which we had basic transistors fitted in them, and this chip was still of a greater size, and but the many has many number as 160 million instruction per second was the speed that was expected. And the name of the device that was developed was Cray 1, and it costs $8.8 million at that time. Okay, so because it was developed by Seymour Cray, that is why in Cray Research Corporation, so the name was named as Cray One. Okay, and this was it involved integrated circuits to develop the system. Next came the generation 4 that has VLSI, and VLSI is very large scale integration. The other generation, other smaller size were already implemented, and the size of computers are reduced. As you can see from the pictures, the size of computers is very much reduced because of the help of the microprocessor that we used in the fourth generation. And the improvement of IC technology made it possible to integrate more and more transistors in a single chip, and as many as 10 to 100 were there in the small scale integration. Then came the medium scale integration, in which we used to have 100 to 1000. Then we had this large scale integration in which 1000 to 10,000 chips were used, and then there was this very large scale integration in which greater than 10,000 chips were used together to form the VLSI and to form the microprocessors in this generation 4. Then we have this fifth generation. In fifth generation, we have all the sci-fi that was developed over the years, and we have this voice recognition, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biocomputing, nanotechnology, learning, natural languages, neural networks. Then we have this cloud computing. Everything that is being implemented nowadays has been a part of fifth generation, and we have so much improvement over the years in fifth generation. Now we have this huge companies using computers for their basic. When we talk about huge servers are used in cloud computing for many companies have grown, and it has the development of computer over the years, over the generations, has made it much more easier to use computers in different areas. Like quantum computing is of a huge usage. Artificial intelligence been implemented in your Alexa, and the devices are being made that are made interactive to the humans at a level in which they can learn themselves, they can train themselves. And then we have this voice recognition system. Then we have this face recognition, retina recognition. All these things that are being implemented in the computers nowadays, and these are some of the pictures of the devices that are used in fifth generation. We have this small mobile phones, there's laptops, iPads, systems. All these devices, USBs, were developed in fifth generation. So all these devices that are used in fifth generation are making it much more easier to use computers in every field nowadays. Okay, so this is all about the generations that we have in compute that we used to have throughout. One thing that I wanted to discuss in this lecture was earlier when we talk about the instruction set that we used in the starting generations. We used to have these a single instruction that we used to have the single instruction that used to go into the processor, get processed, and come out. And the speed, the cost of executing that instruction, the speed was very low, the cost of implementation was very high. So it was like in the initial phase of executing the instruction, it was very difficult to execute one instruction. Then came the batch system, in which we had multiple instructions that were clubbed together to make batches. The similar types of instructions were clubbed together to make batches, and those batches were collectively given to the processor to process. Then came the implementation of your multi-programming, where we had this two types of instructions with the CPU bound instructions and input output bound instructions. And when we talk about these two types of instructions, these encouraged your multi-programming, then multi-processing, multitasking. All these things have been gradually used in the on all these generations, gradually to make the instruction set execution easier and better and faster. So in case you have any doubts in this particular lecture, you can come to me anytime, and thank you for listening.